Hello, my name is Paige Cameron and my student ID is 11641818. I'm here today to speak to you about the episode aired on Monday, 18th March 2019 on the ABC TV show The Drum. On this episode, they discuss the cultural and political influences leading up to the Christchurch attack. Ellen Fanning, who is pictured on the left, is an Australian journalist and host of the ABC TV show The Drum. On Monday, 18th March 2019, she welcomed First, an all-Muslim women panel to discuss the cultural and political influences leading up to the Christchurch attack. Please excuse my pronunciation. I will try and do my best. But introducing the panel, we have Sarah Saleh, who is a writer, artist, Arab-Australian human rights advocate and board director of Get Up. We also have principal solicitor at Legal Shelley and community advocate Lydia Shelley. We also have Hannon Dover, who is a clinical and forensic psychologist and activist. Author, postdoctoral research fellow at the Department of Sociology at the Macquarie University and former lawyer Runda Abdel Fattah. And finally, on the right, we have Diana Sayad, who is a human rights lawyer and former crisis campaigner for Amnesty International. On Friday, 15th March 2019, a 28-year-old man, Brenton Tarrant, drove to a mosque located in Christchurch. He was loaded with a live stream camera, weapons and ammunition and embarked on a killing spree. He then drove to a second mosque where he devastatingly killed over 50 innocent people and left about 50 more injured, and some of those are still fighting for their lives. The ABC TV show The Drum invited an all-Muslim panel on Monday, 18th March to discuss the influences present in society leading up to the Christchurch attack that could have influenced it. The key messages from this episode are around the discussion of politicians and the way they use their high profiles to broadcast, in some cases, racist comments. Further discussions are around the media, who provide a stage to these politicians and additionally to right-wing people as a platform to cast to society. Politicians have an influential role within their countries and within society. They're given the opportunity and power to voice their opinions and voice the opinions of the people. They have a hand in making changes within the community and should do so with the community in mind. Pauline Hanson is an example of a person who, for years, has used her political position to broadcast hate speech. Pauline isn't the only politician spreading hate. If you consider the recent comments of Senator Fraser Anning, who made publicly following the Christchurch attack. His comment was that the real cause of the bloodshed on New Zealand streets is the immigration program that allowed Muslim fanatics to migrate to New Zealand in the first place. Mostly, the Australian community rejected Anning's views, and his comment resulted in over 1 million people signing a petition to have him removed from Parliament. So these politicians who are demonstrating white supremacy against Muslims and migrants should be condemned. It is argued that these displays of white supremacies on our political stages breed similar ideas in consumers' mind, leading to a racist community. On a more positive note, there's one politician who has been praised following her recent acts of genuine compassion for the Muslim community. This is New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. She is an inspirational figure for the political community and furthermore for society. Jacinda rightfully states that all are welcome to New Zealand and has worked hard the past week to make quick changes within New Zealand, particularly around gun laws to prevent any further horrific incidents. On Thursday, Arden did something that Americans in particular might find unthinkable. With the agreement of Conservative Opposition Party, she enacted immediate and sweeping changes to the country's gun laws, banning all assault rifles and military semi-automatics, a major achievement in a country with a sizable rural population. The Muslim community within Australia and around the world should be free to practice their beliefs and live their way of an ethical life. Religious ethics are the moral principles that guide religions and that set the standard for what is and isn't acceptable behaviour. These fundamental principles flow from the core beliefs and ancient wisdom of religion, as well as its teachers and traditions. Islamophobia, for those who are not aware of the term, is the culture that is inspiring individuals such as Brenton to commit horrible acts of terrorism against the Muslim community. Islamophobia is the fear and hatred of Muslims and people perceived to be Muslims that leads to hostility and intolerance. A working definition published in late 2018 by a group of British MPs defined Islamophobia as rooted in racism and a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. Brenton wrote a manifesto which displayed neo-Nazi ideology. The self-described ethno-nationalists also took inspiration from other right-wing extremists, including racist Norwegian killer Anders Breivik, who murdered 77 people in Norway in 2011, motivated by his hatred of multiculturalism. Another major contributing factor that influenced the Christchurch attack was the media. The media has given politicians and extreme right-wing people a platform to voice their racist opinions. Brenton, for example, posted his manifesto online in a forum with like-minded people. He also live-streamed footage of him in the mosque with the gun killing people on Facebook, which quickly spread. Facebook's since taken the video down, but I believe it's still online. People generally understand the right to freedom of speech, but it has gone past that. People are expressing and breeding hatred and racist views against the Muslim community through the media. Sunrise have been slammed by the panel, who on many occasions have welcomed Pauline Hanson to their show. Hanson has used this stage to present messages of hate which weaponizes racism, proving to be a platform for right-wing extremists. It's clear the media give a stage to racists who breed these ideas in minds of media consumers, which then consequently, yet unconsciously, builds these same ideas in the audience's mind. Australia media has a long history of peddling racist, anti-migration narratives. And that is said by a doctor who is a media researcher from the University of Adelaide. Sadly, one of the first things the panel mentions is that they are no way surprised that the terrorist attack occurred in Christchurch. The women on the panel expressed their feelings of utter sadness and helplessness towards the Christchurch attack, making it known that it's not just an attack on the Christchurch mosques, it is an attack on the whole Muslim community around the globe. It's also important to note an important point that one of the panel members mentioned, that yes, the media is talking about this issue today, and they will for maybe the next week or two, but after that, the media will fall silent and the world will move on. But it's important to remember that the Muslim community will continue to be hurt by this, now continue to be fearful of what is next, and that there really needs to be a focus on what is going to prevent this from happening again. What can politicians do? What can we do? Yeah. In summary, a selection of politicians and the media have fueled fear in society that the Muslim community are dangerous and should not be welcome to Australia. This is not for everyone, but for some of the population. Therefore, politicians and the media have normalised bigotry within Australia. However, it's important to note that this is a globalised issue. Violence and racism have become mainstream and far right has become normalised. Following the Christchurch attack, there is a report that says Australia government immediately joined the unequivocal condemnation of the attack. But the conversation at home was already turning to whether racism and hate speech had been normalised. I do have a slide coming up with a few links to further information, but I just did want to touch on one of the articles, which was a ABC article defining that racism is a moral issue. So I won't go through all of these quotes, but I will read a few of them. Changing social attitudes on something like racism requires time. The task is generational in character. For this reason, it is sometimes said that you cannot legislate for virtue, that you cannot eradicate racism through laws. This is true in one sense. It would be naive to believe that legislation alone can solve society's ills. Why I wanted to touch on that is because I do believe that legislation can assist to stop further incidents like this happening, but I do believe it's bigger than that. It's to do with people and what they believe, what information they receive, and it needs to happen there as well. Just one more. As the debate of bigotry and free speech continues, we should make sure that we are asking the right question. It is not, do we have the right to be bigots? The question is rather, what kind of society do we want Australia to be? And I would hope the answer to that question would be a multicultural and peaceful society. My personal opinion is that it is extremely important to be aware, to be educated, and to understand all sides of the situation. I personally strive to discourage any racism I witness and will be open-minded and welcoming to all. I think it is important to understand what politicians stand for, and so that us as citizens can make informed decisions when we vote that will benefit our community and most of all support our personal beliefs. I think it's important to keep fighting racism and to personally shut it down when you come across it if you can. There is so much more that can be done, particularly in the political and media environments. Overall, the attack in New Zealand outlines the international spread of Islamophobia, hate crime, which becomes highly pertinent in a globalised world. It is important to be kind, be educated, and promote peace. There's a few more sources of information that you could visit. I have linked the particular episode of The Drum. If you have not already listened to it, I highly recommend you do. There's also an interesting article on ABC regarding the argument that racism is a moral issue. And then just on the right side there, you've got an article about the call for Sunrise to ban Pauline Hanson, a link to help and support if anyone's affected by the Christchurch terrorist attack, and a really interesting article from ABC about why they're choosing not to share the gunman's manifesto. Thank you for listening.